What did I learn working in Watts? So here's the situation. My freshman year in college, my first phone call home, I'm on the phone with my mom, giving her my new dorm number, and she gets a call that my dad has died. She then tells me that he hasn't updated his will, so there's no money for me, which was a lie. She just took the money. So I had to get a job really quickly to figure out how to support myself. And the job I got was doing interviews and EKGs in English and Spanish in people's homes at night in Watts with two guys who grew up there. And the thing is, little miss, I grew up in Berkeley. I've had a diverse life, la, la, la. I was like, this is not a problem. And you know what? I really learned how much white privilege I had being in Watts, because the people that I met were so smart and so inventive and curious and loving and thoughtful and courageous. And yet a lot of them had something that I didn't have. They had a belief that their life was going to end at age 25 because there was so much gun violence. And so even though they were just as smart and just as hardworking as I was, my white privilege was that somebody said to me, of course you're going to college. And even though I had no money and I was eating rice for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, my belief in college, my knowledge that I could do that got me through. I also learned that you really can't judge people based on their race or based on their income or based on their language. Because, there were some people that were super grumpy and super, bad attitude, but most of the people there were striving so hard to have a great life. I met this one woman. She looked like a railroad map. She had so many scars from so many surgeries, and she could barely get out of bed. And yet her eyes were full of light and hope. And she loved reading. She loved reading to her niece. And this one family I met who had just come over from Nicaragua, and it was a man and his wife and these three little girls. And I go over and they're like little stair steps, and they were super clean and tidy in their hand-me-down clothes. They could not have been more polite. They could not have been more gracious. They sat me down, offered me coffee like I was the Queen of England. So what I learned is that where but for the grace of God, and you really have to be careful about checking your prejudice at the door.